Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. Did you know that New Jersey has the most lenient bail policy in the whole country? Proponents say that bail only keeps poor people in jail. Critics say violent criminals are being allowed back on the street. Now, in a moment, we will speak with an attorney who is representing the state's bail bondsmen. But we begin our coverage with Ellen Kolodziej.
Thank you, Larry. Right now, you'll find bail bonds places like this one here in Camden all over the state of New Jersey. But if those bail reforms stay in place, some high-profile advocates say these places will disappear. And they say those reforms could cost jobs and lives.
What we need now is people to stand up for your rights, for your lives, for your children and grandchildren's lives.
For years, Dwayne Chapman, also known as Dog the Bounty Hunter, chased down fugitives on reality TV. Now he's fighting the Christie administration by joining a federal lawsuit to stop bail reforms that he says could kill people, such as June Rogers' son, Christian.
I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye. The next time I saw my child was at the funeral home. You guys were successful at giving me the opportunity to lay across that casket with my baby laying in there and crying my eyes out for 35 minutes.
Rogers filed a lawsuit after her 26-year-old son, Christian, was shot and killed while walking down the street in Vineland. Police say 30-year-old Jules Black shot Rogers more than 20 times and charged him with first-degree murder. Christian's family says their son would still be alive if Black had stayed in jail under the old bail system. Instead, he had been released just a few days before the shooting, despite being arrested 28 times before.
You do the crime, you do the time. You get supervised by a bail company. Your mom and daddy sign, your auntie sign, your grandma sign, and we watch you all the time.
Skin in the game.
Yes,
Right.
Skin in the game. You just don't get to run amok, on society.
Supporters of the reforms say the goal is to keep potentially violent suspects in jail until their trial and to free people charged with lesser crimes because they can't afford bail. According to the Courier Post, fewer than 30 accused criminals have been given cash bail since the reforms went into effect in January. That's compared to hundreds of thousands last year. Judges now use a computer algorithm to help them decide who gets bail and who doesn't. Governor Chris Christie has refused to meet with Dog the Bounty Hunter and wholeheartedly stands by the bail reforms.
The bail bonds community has made a fortune over the years, predominantly off of the poor in New Jersey. And we now are stopping them from doing that. And they're pissed.
So even though a lot of other states around the country already have some of these reforms in place, New Jersey seems to be the epicenter of the battle. Now, the head of the American Bail Coalition says if these reforms stand, businesses like this will disappear. And he says that could cost the state more than 6,000 jobs. Reporting for Jersey Matters, I'm Ellen Kolodziej.
All right, thank you, Ellen. Now, to continue our conversation, we are here with Richard Blender, who is an attorney in Paterson, New Jersey, representing most of the bail bondsmen in the state of New Jersey. Sir, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
That's quite all right.
Your main argument is what?
Main argument is safety to the community. That what people don't understand is, under the new system, it's just a revolving door for criminals. People get arrested, and within 12 to 24 hours, they're back on the street with no accountability.
And that's why you were hired, for that reason, or is it because it's going to cost bail bondsmen money?
Well, when you say I was hired, I've been representing bondsmen for 40 years.
Okay.
But
so in this in fighting this action, it has to do with their livelihoods.
Well, it's the bail bondsman livelihood, sure, because as of January 1st, basically there's little, if any, business. I mean, just no business for them. But that's what we do.
Yeah. Let me give you the counter argument to what you were talking about a moment ago. And the counter argument is that, for instance, if I'm a drug dealer and I get arrested, I have the wherewithal, I have the money to get on bail. If I'm a drug user and I'm arrested, I don't have that, so I sit in jail. And so it unfairly punishes the poor, is what the claim is.
Nobody is sitting in jail because they can't afford bail. If you're the drug user, the first-time drug user, or the person who's been arrested for the first time for a nonviolent crime, you shouldn't even have to go through this process. You should just be automatically released. It has nothing to do with money. But we don't need the state to spend $100 million to process you in and process you out. Because now everybody has to be processed, and that costs money. And conservatively, the state's spending now about $100 million to let those people out. On the other hand, the premiums that bondsmen charge are regulated by the Department of Banking and Insurance. People can get out for little or no money at all. I mean, it's typically 10% of the face amount of the bond. But for 1 or 2% of that premium, you can get out and pay off the rest of it over time, no interest, no fees. So there's nobody sitting in jail because they can't afford bail.
Nobody is? Because that's the whole argument. The argument against this is that there are people that languish in jail because they can't afford the bond.
Well, that's a false argument. People are sitting in jail on small bails because the municipal courts, and that's 90% of those people who couldn't make $2,500 bail or $2,000 bail. Those aren't the superior indictable cases. Those are the municipal court cases, which the Bail Reform Act does not apply to. Those are the people who have outstanding municipal charges, who either fail to appear in court, failed to pay their fines, and the municipal courts are going after them to compel them to pay the fines. That's a whole different argument. But the people who are being arrested, the drug dealers, the people who are stealing cars, those people can make bail.
So your argument is there should be no bail reform from the past system?
This bail reform is a catastrophe. It's just a catastrophe. It's not working. It's not doing what it was supposed to do. There's no accountability. There's no supervision. The failure to appear rates have gone sky high because defendants know, criminals know, they just don't have to go to court because nobody's looking for them or making them go. And they also know if they get rearrested, they're going to be out within a couple hours.
Yeah, the numbers are pretty startling. It was in the first several weeks of the bail reform, there were 3,600 and some cases, and only 3 people got bail. Yeah. Those numbers jive with what you've seen?
Yeah, and those people who got bail were because the crimes were committed prior to January 1st. But there's no new bail been set. So basically, it's just a free-for-all. People get arrested, and the career criminals and the defendants who have been in and out of jail know there's no repercussions. So they can fail to appear in court, and if they recidivist commit a new crime, there's no punishment for that either. They're just going to be let back out.
So if you're so against it, what's your remedy? What can happen?
Well, there's a number of things that you can do, and it's not that hard. If someone is arrested, they're a first-time offender, they're probably never going to happen again, probably going to get probation if they're found guilty, which is a good probability of that. And it's a nonviolent situation. When they get arrested, you let them out. Other than that, set a monetary bail. Monetary bail has been shown over 100 years to be the best form of pretrial release if you want people to show up in court. And if they don't show up, to make sure that someone is out looking for them. And what it also does is it makes these defendants, people who are out, accountable. They know that they have a stake in the game. There's a financial interest they have, not just them, but their family members who have agreed to sign for them. So the failure to appear rate, the recidivism rate is much lower. For that bulk of defendants, there should be monetary bail. Then there's the other extreme, is the people who should be preventively detained.
Now, let me stop you for a second, because you're going through a solution. I guess my question is, how is that implemented? What do you want to see happen?
Well, we want to see the law change so that if to reimpose monetary bail for that group of defendants who have prior failure to appears, who there's a good probability will end up in jail, where there's presumptions that they're going to be going to jail, things like that.
Is there a climate for that? It seems like most legislators are for this reform, no?
I'm not so sure about that. I've spoken to a lot of legislators who realize, and in fact, when the bill was passed, they said, we understand this has to be tweaked. We're going to have to be making changes, because you see it time and time again. And you see it in the news all over with police departments and chiefs of police complaining about this, and people in various places doing that, because it's just get out of jail free card.
Do you know how Phil Murphy stands on this?
I don't think anybody knows how Phil Murphy stands on this.
Has he been pressed? Have you asked?
People have spoken to him, and from what I understand, it's very non-committal.
Are you getting interest from across the country? Because I know they're talking about bail reform in other states, and I'm sure bail's bondsmen in those states are also worried.
We've been in touch with various people. We've been in touch with the national organization, the ABC, the American Bail Coalition. And yes, they're...
Are they here lobbying?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
So it's a lot of resources coming into New Jersey, because if it happens here, it can happen elsewhere.
That is correct, and they've tried it elsewhere, and they've had some success, and they've had some failures. California voted against it. New Mexico voted against it. Louisiana's having issues with it. States that have gone to this concept of pretrial release are having second thoughts about it now, because what they're seeing is that the costs are exorbitant. The cost to implement this program are just higher than they ever imagined, and that's what's going to happen here in New Jersey.
Just real quickly, what's the next step?
The next step is for some legislators to get together and say, look, we have to fix this. It's not hard to fix. We just have to make some modifications to it to allow the reintroduction of monetary bail for the protection of the public.
Sir, I appreciate the time.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for being here. Richard Blunder, an attorney in Paterson, New Jersey, who is representing bail bondsmen in the state. When Jersey Matters continues, you want to improve education in the state? Teach the parents to read and write.